Alright, Nitro Brothers, we're going to be firing this engine up for the first time, and we're going to show a little detail about it. This is one thing that people don't understand on these engines. You've got to have a throttle return spring or mechanism. Here I'm using a rubber band type return. So it's important for the gap, for your gap to be set proper for an idle on an engine, whether it be new engine or already broken in. What we have, this is the return. This is what throws a lot of people off. And they don't understand. Getting tired of people complaining, well, it won't stay running, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's why right here, your idle gap. Your idle gap is very, very important. There has to be a certain amount of opening there for the engine to even idle or run, period. Set at an idle. So, and then once they get it running, one of the issues they have, oh, well, my engine keeps revving up. Well, that's because when you let off the throttle, you don't have no return spring. See, you got to have a return where it returns back to idle. What happens if you don't have that, your idle gap will come open, because if you take this off, your slide barrel will just easily slide open on its own, creating a high rev. Okay, so you got to make sure you have that a return spring or something to return that back to the closed idle gap. So that idle gap's very important. So that's one thing you got to make sure that it is open. Okay. Since we got that out of the way, and a lot of people get the ready to run models, and all this stuff is not right from the factory. So you got to make sure all this stuff is right. The idle gap, we got a certain amount of idle gap. That's probably not the correct idle gap, but this is a new engine. And since it's running rich, it will probably need to be opened a little bit more than what it should be to keep the idle, maintain the idle, and keep the engine running. Yeah. So we got that out of the way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to heat the engine up. We'll heat the engine up. I'm going to show you how to heat the engine up before I actually start it. So here we go. Turn the heat gauge on, and this is how you heat. You want to heat the bottom block. Not like this, because you're just heating the cooling head. So you want to do the actual side of the block, and you work around the block like this. They work it around. Like so. Like that. Now you can do a little bit right here. What this does is it helps expand the sleeve. The sleeve has a tight pinch. Engines rely on the pinch for compression. So you want to heat it up first. This will help expand the sleeve. The piston will go up into the sleeve easier. Alright, let's check the temp of this. It's probably very hot right now. Shut this off. Alright. Be careful of that. Make sure you don't get that up against. That's the hot part of the gun. So I set it on a metal bucket. Okay. Let's check the heat. We're gonna check the side of the block here. Get a reading. (196 degrees). Alright. 210. Let's clear this again. (180). That's pretty hot there. That should start the engine, but this vid is just to show. This ain't the actual starting vid, but this is the vid that's gonna show what I do. Okay. Now you got this right here. I'm not gonna run the electric for it. I'm just going to insulate the heat in the engine, what heat that's already there. So what's going to happen is after it starts and the fuel starts circulating in the engine, it will start to become running cooler, not hotter, cooler, because the fuel and the oil content will make the engine run cooler. So what's going to happen while it's running is the engine's going to want to cool down, actually cool down as it's running because of the fuel going through it. So you want to maintain the heat to a certain temperature until you get some fuel, enough fuel in there where the sleeve starts wearing in. What it is, the piston's got to wear. You got to wear them two together. So you want the heat consistent for a while, at least 3 or 4 tanks. And a lot of times it takes a whole bottle of fuel, quart of fuel for decent break-in. And even after that, the engine may still have a lot of pinch, which some cases will make the piston stick into the top of the cylinder sometimes. So when that happens, it's not a big issue. You just have to reheat the engine and keep going with it. But yeah, right. This will keep the heat consistent. And what's going to happen is after a few tanks, I might have to lean it out to create more heat. Or each time, probably not lean it, but probably just hit it with the heat gun like so, to keep the heat up to 200 degrees. So yeah, this is what it takes for a new engine. Alright, I'm going to shut this down right here, and I'm going to do the actual fire up. Alright, we're going to prime the engine and fire it up.